the Eagles did get a win yesterday, but it was very, very sloppy at times, especially for the new offensive and defensive coordinator. Jalen Carter, he dominated, probably the brightest spot of the entire day. And Philadelphia, 2 major injuries. We'll update you on Nakobe Dean. Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Monday. Victory Monday, but there's a lot to go ahead and break down from yesterday, including the big news that is the injury updates that we have early here. Let's start with that. Now, I'll start with some good news, at least semi-good news for linebacker Nakobe Dean. Here's the update on his foot injury. Quote, linebacker Nakobe Dean will miss multiple weeks with a foot injury, an NFL source confirmed at Ian Rappaport. Timeline will depend on recovery, but team doesn't expect him to miss significant time. Expect Nicholas Morrow to be called up from practice squad for now, end quote. So at least you get a little bit of good news here regarding Nakobe Dean not being done for the year. It was a pretty significant injury. He got rolled up on, showing some of that video up on your screen right now, seen in a walking boot as he went ahead and left the stadium yesterday, but at least there's a chance it's not gonna be like 7, 8, 9 weeks, right? It could be 1, 2, 3, but for sure out for Thursday's game. Now, Adam Schefter went ahead and backed this up as well, saying it'll be about a month due to a foot injury. They are signing former Titans first-round draft pick Rashaan Evans to its practice squad per sources. And Evans has played in the National Football League, and so right now it'll be Zach Cunningham and Christian Ellis who should be your 2 starters to the linebacker spot. They'll elevate Morrow and then sign Rashaan Evans to the practice squad in order to have 4 points of depth in case another injury were to happen. Cox checked out of the football game in the 4th quarter and did not return, was seen still on the sidelines with his pads on. Maybe just a stinger, maybe not. We'll find out more. We'll probably know later on this afternoon. Follow me on Twitter for the latest updates or subscribe here. And we're gonna get into all the good and the bad, but let's at least do a little bit of good right now. Jalen Carter, he was fantastic, and now he did have 1 sack. The stat sheet is not necessarily gonna showcase a dominant Aaron Donald type performance in week 1, which of course you weren't expecting because it is week 1, but the stats, at least from a non-sack perspective, were still very, very impressive. He was the highest graded defensive tackle in the entire NFL yesterday. Look at this, 1 sack, 7 quarterback pressures, a 32% pass rush win rate. That is an absolutely monumental number right there. He had the most pressures by any defensive tackle week 1, the most pressures by any defensive tackle in a game in over 5 years. And so if you're wondering how the Breadman was going to perform playing a lot more than 4 snaps as he did the first 2 preseason games, he performed absolutely incredible. You can make an argument that if Fletcher Cox is out for a significant amount of time, both Jordan Davis, who had a half a sack, and Jalen Carter, who had a full sack, will be incredible to go ahead and start and fill in as the 2 starting defensive tackles. Milton Williams wasn't bad yesterday, but Jalen Carter clearly is the guy and is going to be contributing at a very, very high rate for Philadelphia this year. Yesterday had a lot of negatives, and a lot of people will be negative down in the comments section. We're going to get into that, rightfully so. But if there's one positive, one reason to leave a thumbs up, Philadelphia won, and their number 9 overall draft pick, who we all overhyped to oblivion during the offseason, well, seems like the hype was real. He was absolutely fantastic. Now, Carter was asked after the game about, were you nervous? What was it like in your first performance? Here's what he said.
Oh, no, I wasn't nervous. I don't really think I get nervous anymore. Football is what I've been doing my whole life. And now that I'm at the biggest level, I don't think I should be. Some people do get nervous, but I'm ready to make a play, man. I'm ready. I'm here.
Just incredible. Really love it for him. Not only, of course, the growth that he's had this offseason, but in terms of Philadelphia's defense, they didn't get a lot of pressure yesterday, but one of the men who was doing his job and doing his part was the rookie defensive tackle. Now, play calling was a serious issue for Philadelphia on both sides of the field. Both brand new coordinators, maybe a little bit either rusty or overwhelmed. More on them in a second. I think the biggest overall negligence of Philadelphia's entire game yesterday was the lack of touches by Dallas Goedert. Now, you go back and watch some of the film, Goedert was wide open on a couple of plays. Jalen Hurts was not perfect yesterday, as we will talk about, and did miss Dallas Goedert. Not like Dallas Goedert was not open, but the play calling seemed to keep the focus away from Goedert, and the fact he was targeted 1 time the entire game is an absolute ridiculous travesty that must be corrected as soon as possible. And Dallas Goedert, he was asked about this in his post-game press conference, and he seemed a little bit frustrated. Listen to this, quote, "I'm not in charge of those calls. Maybe next week will be my week. If not, I'll keep on chugging. Was a good team win. Really proud of how the team played," end quote. So he does give you the correct answer there, right? Not my decision. I'm going to keep doing my job. But he says, I'm not in charge of those calls. Meaning he's not in charge of getting him the football. Somebody else is. And that person, whether it is Brian Johnson or Jalen Hurts or even Nick Sirianni, pre-planning as the offensive-minded head coach, they've got to get Dallas Goedert the ball. He's too good. He's too good not to give him the football and not give him any touches. Now, remember back to week 1, which is also a very close and kind of rough, I would say, win by Philadelphia against the Lions in 2022, Devontae Smith didn't have a catch. And then Devontae Smith, of course, balled out a couple of weeks later against the Washington Commanders. And so my expectation is Goedert will get a lot more touches going into this Thursday night home opener against the Minnesota Vikings. But the fact that they did not target him more than one time the entire game caused for a big-time L by the Eagles offense. The other real head-scratcher was DeAndre Swift. Now, he played in a significant amount of snaps at the running back spot, but he did not get really a single carry. There was one time they handed him the football and had a couple of looks in the passing game. This just cannot be. Poor DeAndre Swift went from a Detroit Lions team that didn't use him at all to a Philadelphia Eagles team that didn't use him at all. Now, Nick Sirianni, he did have a response when asked about this in his post-game press conference.
I don't ever want to come out of a game where DeAndre Swift has only 2 touches either. And so, we were where we were with numbers and some of the things. Our first 3 guys through camp are those 3 guys that dressed. And so, like I said, with Boston to have 4 backs up when Boston and DeAndre both only had 1 carry, we got to play that number game.
You can't really make that as an excuse. Well, we got to get him more than 1 touch. Okay, well then do it. It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard to take some of the Gainwell touches and split them up with the DeAndre Swift touches. It's just that simple. Now, New England's defense had a very, very good 5-man front scheme. They call it the bear defense, and that does a very, very strong job against stopping the run. And the Eagle offensive line, as great as it is, maybe was a little bit rusty, maybe just didn't perform that well, but they had very little push up front. So the running game wasn't special at all the entire day. But DeAndre Swift is way too good of not only a trade a target, bringing him in, giving up draft capital, and then hyping him up all offseason to give him absolutely no touches. I mean, it was 1 time the entire game. That was a major, major L, again, by a brand new rookie offensive coordinator in Brian Johnson and an Eagles rushing attack that needs to be more balanced in who gets the football. Now listen, we can blame Brian Johnson all we want, and rightfully so. If you think he's the real problem, let me know down below in the comments section. But Jalen Hurts, he wasn't spectacular. Now, he did have a decent start. The opening drive resulted in a field goal, and then the touchdown pass to Devontae Smith was an absolutely money throw. I mean, accuracy was huge here. He just missed a little bit of open receivers. There were a couple of times, again, Goedert was wide open, Smith was wide open, and you saw some of the Jalen Hurts of his first year, whenever they lost to Tampa Bay in the wildcard round of the playoffs, kind of rear its ugly head. Now, I'll be honest, rust to me was a major factor. I think Philadelphia did not do their offense justice by not playing them at all in the preseason, especially with the new offensive coordinator, and even Nick Sirianni went ahead and admitted that in his post-game press conference.
Do you think that had anything to do, we know he's better than that, what he was today. Do you think that had anything to do with it kind of shaking off?
I'll definitely reevaluate some of the preseason stuff next year. I know they played the first 2 years that we were here. They only played 1 series against the Jets in 2022. Maybe I should have played them, a series or 2 this preseason, and I already wrote that in my notes. And I'm constantly self-evaluating myself, and and I'm not promising anything. And I know y'all will remember this conversation and play it, and that's okay. But I have to, I'll reevaluate that, and second thought, if I had to do it over again right now, I would say, I would have played the starters 1 or 2 drives in the preseason.
But to sit back here and rip Jalen Hurts is incorrect, but to sit back here and say, well, he was fantastic yesterday is also incorrect. We have to be fair, right? You got to go ahead and say, hey, he makes a lot of these plays and makes a lot more touchdowns in all these games that he played last season. Missed a couple of throws here. Let's see what he does on Thursday night before abandoning ship. And that's the main focus of the entire show today. We're not going to abandon ship. We're not going to panic. That's a very, very good defense with a very, very good head coach who had months and months and months to plan for Philadelphia. They still won the game. They would have lost the game, we might be smashing the panic button today, but they won the football game, and that is at least worth giving a thumbs up. Hurts, though, he needs to be better.
I think, first and foremost, I think that's a great win, a great win for us, being able to be resilient. Obviously, for me, winning is the only thing that matters. And that's something that I've always said all the time. And so that's the mentality right now, and that will always be the mentality. Winning is the only thing that matters.
He's right, though. A win is a win, and a win is a win is a win. I said it during our Eagles live postgame yesterday with myself and Josh Davis. No one's going to remember how close it was when you barely beat the Patriots week 1 if you're holding a Lombardi trophy a couple of months from now in February. But if they would have lost, we all would have circled that as a missed opportunity for the Eagles. They won the game, and that still cause for a thumbs up down below. Now, when mentioning Brian Johnson, he was definitely a little bit vanilla, and I think the offense definitely needs to go ahead and get to work today on getting back to what they did best this past season, which is building off of RPOs, building off enough read options and throwing the football down the field to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But I want to go ahead and switch over to the defensive play calling and Sean Desai. I see him getting ripped all over Facebook and all over Twitter, and while they definitely had their moments, and I think the secondary, mainly Slay and James Bradbury, had a couple of really, really questionable coverage plays on those 2 opening touchdown drives of the second quarter that, of course, the Patriots had back-to-back. Sean Desai, as a whole, did have a pretty good day. I mean, statistically, he had a pretty good day. Look at this. 20 points allowed. They did have a pick 6. They did have a fumble that led to an easy touchdown, and 3 fourth down stops in the fourth quarter. The defense did win in the game, and this is correct, but I think still the vanilla defense, the soft coverage on third down and second down and short continues to be my Achilles heel and why I get absolutely frustrated by watching the Eagle defense this year and in past years. This is what Gannon did. All Gannon did was play soft coverage and expect to get pressure with the front 4. Here's the problem yesterday. They did the exact same thing and got no pressure with the front 4. If you're Sean Desai, I know that you expect the front 4 to get pressure and you play soft coverage and get picks, as they did early in the game with the pick 6 by Darius Slay. But once you get to the second quarter, once you get to the third quarter and you realize, hey, the front 4, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, no one's getting pressure right now. Send extra people. Trust the secondary to do their job in man-to-man coverage or at least single high safety. That's the kind of changes you need to be able to make at halftime, and Philadelphia's defense, at least in this game, completely was unable to do so. Does that mean Sean Desai stinks or should be fired or the Eagles' defense is doomed? No, they have too much talent to be bad, and I think Thursday night is a great opportunity to turn things around exactly as they did a year ago when the defense gave up 30-plus points to the Lions, came back around and shut down Justin Jefferson and that Minnesota Viking passing attack. So things are going to change week to week, but still, let's see a little bit more creativity, ingenuity, and changing of some overall play design, at least by halftime, to make those adjustments. Now listen, I'm fascinated to read your guys' comments down below in the comments section. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where Eagle fans are at. Most of the stuff I see on social media is bad and negative, but again, I will emphasize, as bad as it was, and as vanilla as both offensive and defensive play callings were, it's only up from here. It should only get better. Rust is a very serious thing, and they should have played him in the preseason due to the fact they had 2 new offensive and defensive coordinators, but now that they have their preseason game out of the way in a full 4-quarter matchup against a very good defense in New England, my hope is they're going to focus in, have a quick turnaround here on Thursday night, and play much better football. If this happens for an extended period of time, maybe throughout the month of September, if they lose in the Vikings game, then we can start to seriously panic here, but I'm not going to freak out after one mediocre but albeit win against a very good team in the New England Patriots. Now, plenty more stuff happening in the next couple of days here as we get you ready for the Thursday night opener. Live show on Wednesday, live during Thursday night against the Minnesota Vikings. But make sure you guys subscribe for the latest updates. A lot of stuff happening, including the Dean and Fletcher Cox news. Hopefully, they're going to be okay. If you're watching this after the news has broke, I'll have updates on Twitter as well. So make sure you guys follow me on there and subscribe down below. I'm Thomas Mott, excited for a win. Let's at least be, we're 1-0. You could be the New York Football Giants, right? Thumbs up for not being the Giants. You're 1-0, you're feeling good, and it's a victory Monday here. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.